Welcome to the VRAR Bytes, our weekly show featuring the movers and shakers from the Central Florida chapter. Today, my guest is Captain Dan Covelli, also known by his call sign Stuckey. Captain Covelli is currently the commanding officer of the Naval Air Warfare Training Systems Division based here in Orlando. Captain Covelli started his career in the Navy in 1994 as a Naval Aviator and has progressed through the ranks, becoming an instructor pilot, operations officer, program manager, and executive officer before taking command of NAWCTSD. At NAWCTSD, he's responsible for over 1,600 active duty and civilian staff that develop, evaluate, and procure training systems for the U.S. Navy and other branches of service. Well, Stuckey, welcome to VRAR Bytes.
Hey, John, thanks. I really appreciate you inviting me, and you and the both you and the VRAR Association giving me this opportunity to talk today. Really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So at NAWCTSD, your team's responsible for developing and procurement of training systems for the Navy. How has Navy training changed from the time that you entered service?
Oh, wow. It's changed a lot. When I first entered service, you'd get pilot training manuals that you'd read, and there'd be some PowerPoints and overhead displays and stuff like that. And the simulator devices were very low tech. Where they're just mock-ups of cockpits that you got in there and flip switches, or maybe you'd have a big dome sim with or without visuals. I don't think I had a sim with visuals until I got to the fleet. Think about that. All of my T-34 experience, my T-2, and my A-4 experience, there were no video, there were no visuals in the simulators, all instrument sims. So you never had a chance to do anything or involved outside scan. And the course were, like I said, was PowerPoint, or you read something. It wasn't interactive like it is today, and it's changed so much.
Right, and obviously XR technology is the next big evolution, and we're progressing down that route. So, what do you think the current readiness is for XR technology within the Navy?
That's a great question. Now, in many ways, I think it's ready today. If you went to ITSEC, you walked the showroom floor back here at the Orange County Convention Center in December. There were many applications of extended reality that were showcased by the government, academia, and industry. And many of them were mature enough. They were ready for prime time, and others really weren't, but they showed promise. All right, where could we go from here? And that's why we have shows like ITSEC, and we get together and we talk about that. But the answer to the question really depends on what part of the XR continuum we're going to talk about. And more importantly, the specific use case, all right? It's not about technology for the sake of technology. It's about trying to meet a requirement or an outcome for training, okay? So it matters. Now, we're actively looking to leverage these technologies, but we have to have the right application and the right time to use it. And our decisions have to be informed by the front-end analysis, our training requirements, human performance, visual science, and the cost analysis. It'd be great to have everything be XR, but if we couldn't afford it, it would be made of unaffordability, as I would like to say. You just can't afford everything like that. So you have to keep all that in play when you think about that. And then the major technologies under the XR umbrella, of all of them, VR is by far the most easiest to integrate into a working trainer or simulator, and the visuals, right? And also we utilize them for those delivery mechanisms for immersive courseware, which is like we talked about that. You mentioned that briefly, and they're big there with the VR technology. And there's other areas that are currently benefiting from VR technology. Think about our primary flight training with Sinatra, the Chief of Naval Air Training. They're in charge of all student Naval Aviator training. They're doing something with the T6B called Project Avengers, part of Naval Aviation Training Act. Giving students constant access to these VR devices, little simulator mock-ups of the T6B. And what they're finding is we've done an effectiveness analysis and very positive results. They're saying it makes a higher quality student Naval Aviator. Like, oh, better T6 pilot? No, a better student Naval Aviator that's more capable of progressing through the syllabus, getting their wings, and they're predicting that will succeed at the fleet. And also, if you were to expand this across the entire T6 enterprise, we could save millions of dollars a year. It's that effective of what they're finding there. So a lot of opportunities there. Now, NAWCTSD has also utilized VR technology in simulation areas that haven't been effective before, but now they're cost effective. Something we just did was with part of the SELA 2025 Ready Relevant Learning Program. We did aviation bosun's mate training. Those are the yellow shirts on the flight deck, allowing folks to use the VR devices to taxi around airplanes on the flight deck. Get real or very real training. Feels like you're really there doing it. I've done it. It's amazing. And we've used this technology in navigation training in submarines for a long time for surface navigation training. But now that the cost to build and maintain them is coming down, it's truly a viable option when it's the right technology for the job. You want to put the technology there that's going to actually meet the mission, okay? Allow us to meet our training objectives, not just do VR or MR for whatever reason. And MR, and I just come on MR technology and AR, the mixed reality or augmented reality, they're advancing, but they're a little bit behind VR, right? Because there's some technical challenges there that we need to implement. But I feel strongly with industry that MR and AR have a lot of potential going forward. There's a tremendous amount of potential because we're seeing some demonstrations that are very promising that we can take advantage of. I know folks in the industry are saying that they're expecting to go from like a niche to a mainstream in about 3 to 5 years, and I agree with that. And one of the biggest advantages of XR is that larger, more flexible field of view. All right, and you have a small footprint compared to the traditional trainers that we have, the ones that take up a whole room. All right, it's a big advantage, and you have the lower upfront cost and sustainment cost. And this can result in greater numbers of devices being out there, allowing more access to larger number of students or sailors and Marines. Similar to what I talked about with Sinatra with the T6B, that really could be huge. And we need to even also look at focusing our investments on content that's data driven. All right, for instructional tools, so we get some feedback, and maybe even the possibility of flipping a switch and using a real world platform for training, or there'll be operator or maintainer right then and there, or even I've seen it where you can put on the VR and AR proof of concept, put on the goggles, and you're looking at an airplane part, and you're getting some performance support. You're on a ship, but you need that graybeard back in Norfolk. He can help you, walk you through a problem, because he can see what you're seeing and help you solve that problem. That's where we have the potential to go, and I'm really excited about that. Navy's working to research, prototype, and evaluate the human performance implications also of injecting those XR technologies into the acquired systems that we have, so we can make better informed decisions and go forward smartly. Now, each of the technologies we talked about, they have strengths and weaknesses, and the challenge is for us to work as one team with industry to better define the requirements and the limitations, so we can take advantage of that and get the right technology to support the warfighter in the most effective way possible.
Wow, that's excellent. You know, I was up at the Department of the Air Force community forum last week, and we had all the representatives of the different major commands in the Air Force on a panel. 2 years ago, when you brought up XR, they were all kind of like, yeah, we're looking at it. We think there's some promise. This year, they said, we need more lightweight simulation devices in our environment. It was consistent. So I think that really shows, you know, and you validated that there is definitely a use case. Adoption is happening, and we have a pretty bright future. But like you said, it needs to be for the right application. So do you think there's a single real big challenges that face adoption?
There are some challenges. Now, we're making significant strides in addressing the real roadblocks to more advanced XR adoption. We are. And some industries are adapting and adopting technology for challenging cases and driving exciting improvements that we're going to be able to benefit from. I have confidence that the Navy will benefit from some of these improvements we're making. We've made possible for some maintenance training applications and gunnery training. They're quite impressive. Just taking what industry's done and putting it to a different use. And when you compare the XR technology to the high fidelity operational flight trainers, or the OFT devices we have, the ones that I talked about that we're training with now or have been training with in the recent past, we see and continue to see some of the same challenges that we had back then, like 20 years ago, just to a lesser degree. and at lower cost because they're smaller devices. But we're having those similar challenges, and we're just progressing forward. Now, there have been some recent gains in technology that increased visual resolution, very big. Talk about the central cone of vision, the instantaneous field of view, and that's why we started. I'm saying we started to make VR and MR a truly viable option for aircrew training. But there's still some challenges we have to work with. You know, the MR cameras, the bandwidth limitations. Talking about the effective instantaneous field of view has to be, I think, in my opinion, at least that of the human eyeball. So you don't move your head artificially when you wouldn't do that in a cockpit. That creates bad training. There's some, physical interaction with the environment that you have to perfect, eye strain, and there's simulator sickness. And then if you think about it, when you talk about just the actual, some of the illities and logistics, logistics for the ruggedness, the power consumption, ergonomics, and then cybersecurity is always coming into play.
Right.
I heard cybersecurity recently, I'm like, really, for goggles? And they're like, oh yeah. So you have to make sure you take cybersecurity into account when you have those linked to the trainers. And I know it seems like a long wish list, but I know the manufacturers and the system integrators have demonstrated they're eager. They are so capable of closing these gaps, and they're starting to. And the commercial marketplace as well has a growing appetite for similar technologies. So I think the Navy once again can benefit. And we often focus on the visual aspects of improvement because VR, it's leading, not only because it's leading the way, but the visual ones are so easy to implement. The ones we want to is I remember sight is our primary sense. So it just seems like the first one to do with an immersive environment. But regardless of technology, we need to focus on other elements to, you get that truly immersive extended reality experience into being. When you think about it, you have to have that real world interaction, reach down and see the cockpit, or if I have some virtual and/or physically stimulated elements as well. You have to do that, and even use the haptics so you feel motion or something like that. Those all can help, actually replace those big OFTs with smaller VR devices. There is the potential. That's just my opinion on that, replacing the OFTs, but I think there's potential. And I've seen improvements in the medical devices that give me hope that these roadblocks are going to be overcome soon at price points that mirror that allow it, that are going to mirror the leaps forward that we've had with the visual fidelity. Visual fidelity has come a long way in the last couple of years. And being honest, in my world as CEO, you ask what is the significant challenge, like the biggest one, I think it's going to be is culture, is for wide adaptation. For many years, I got to jump in the airplane. I got to do the real world event in a real world environment to get the training. That's a lot of people are saying that, but I'm hoping, because with the work that's been done to show scientifically, like we did with Sinatra, and prove the real benefit of the XR technology, we can break down some of those barriers and change this into like a wider cross section of early adapters. All right, and it's all about getting hands-on use of those devices, and we're getting lots of prototypes and test cases into the hands of the warfighter sooner and more frequently, and that's really important. And Team Orlando and the Central Florida Tech Grove, which is part of Naval X, they're a big part of making that happen.
I'm glad you brought up Naval X. That program we've heard a lot about. Can you talk about how the Naval X program is helping the Navy develop a broader ecosystem?
Oh, absolutely. Naval X, that is, they have the tech bridges, right? And those are networks of networks, looking at solving hard problems. And what it does is, Central Florida has a tech bridge, and our physical location is the Tech Grove. It gives me the license to go outside of modeling, simulation, and training and human performance. That's what our Tech Grove is focused on. But is there something outside of my area of expertise? I can link up with the other tech groves, or tech bridges, and make sure that solutions to hard problems or great technology doesn't fall through the cracks. But for example, now we got some help from some of the other tech bridges there. There were gamers in the Northwest. They didn't know about Team Orlando and our $6.5 billion ecosystem. That money we put on contract every year. Well, they got introduced to us, and they came to ITSIC, and now they're helping us solve hard problems. Now they're working with us, those gamers in the Northwest. We also introduce problem solvers to the right tech bridge, and that's key. There's a company called Click and Board. They do aircraft manufacturing and parts. I'm going to meet with them talk about how they can help with modeling, simulation, and training. But we're going to introduce them to folks up at NAWCTSD because they do aircraft parts. That's Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division. They were really focused on those aircraft parts, and we want to make sure that we make those connections. We had a company reach out to us on LinkedIn about blue water tech space, about for surface warfare. We're going to connect them with the 401 tech bridge up at Newport, Rhode Island, where the heart of the surface warfare community is. There are local chip manufacturers here. There's folks that do sonar tech. They're not in our business space, but I can hook them up with the folks that need that technology, and I can make those connections so we can prosper. Now, the Naval X and the tech bridges are also promoting the use of non-FAR-based agreements, such as OTAs and other authorities that the warfare centers and the program officers aren't necessarily aware of and don't use it, but they allow us to go faster. They give us more options to work with smaller, unique companies that can help us solve those hard problems that we have. And we're connecting inside and out. The Central Florida Tech Grove helped other tech bridges set up AI and VR labs. They didn't do that. We also have a list of best practices, so we know what to do, what to replicate, and then also lessons learned, what not to do, what didn't work. A great example of a best practice is we are working, Central Florida Tech Bridge is providing information on how to set up an outreach program. All right, Diana Teal, our outreach director, has done an amazing job. Okay, my boss was down here from NAWCTSD, and he goes, "Why can't we do what you're doing with our tech bridge?" And I said, I actually told him, Diana Teal is a big part of that. It's the outreach portion that helps bring the people in, give awareness. And we're working with the other tech bridges to do that now. We're also connecting warfighter problems with that ecosystem. We're starting something here in the Tech Grove. It's called the Problem Grove, right? We're developing it right now. It's gonna be a website where you can put hard problems on the website and folks can see them and share them and figure out who can solve them. There are people who just want to solve problems just for the sake of solving them. We call them the garage band guys and girls that want to tinker and they want to solve those hard problems. And we also have Tech Grove Connect events, opportunities to solve those problems. You were there for the Armed Forces Game Jam. That was a great event. We had the prize challenges, and I believe 2 of those games went on to work with working out to solve DoD hard problems. So it's a really good thing. The Tech Grove also has the AR VR buffet, which allows companies to come in and test their products, integrate with our systems as well. And this is stuff that's happening throughout the 18 tech bridges. So it's a really good thing.
That's exciting. And just for all of you out there, the Armed Forces Jam this year is going to be in September. It's going to be at the Tech Grove, as Captain Covelli mentioned. Last year, we had 13 teams compete. It's an in-person over the weekend event. This year, we're hoping to amp that up to 20 or so teams. So I'll be sending some information out about that as well. Okay, Dan, last question. What's the coolest application in XR that you've seen?
There's 2.
Okay.
And we mentioned one of them because I was just amazed, not by the application, but who did it.
Okay.
We have our Industry Capability Day here at NAWCTSD in Team Orlando, and we had a Student Industry Capability Day. And there were some students that had a lawn chair, a bucket of sodas, and a set of goggles. And I think you've heard this one, but it still impressed me. And you put the goggles on and you're looking at a beach, like, what's this all about? And they said, well, we found that when people were nervous, they didn't do that well on math tests. Okay, so what we did was we put the setup outside the classroom and we let the students sit in there, put the goggles on, the VR goggles, sit in the lawn chair. They had headsets where they hear the sound of the ocean, drink a soda, relax for 5 or 10 minutes, and their math scores improved. I was like, that was a great use of the application. And they were like sophomores. I'm like, wow. When I was 16, I did not do stuff like that. And that was just amazing the way they did that. And also, the other ones was some of I saw the medical simulations at ITSEC, and I've watched them improve over the years that I've been here. And got to see a field medical simulation where you actually got to work on a patient. You had the happy gloves on. You could pick it up a scalpel. You could feel it. You could feel yourself cutting into the skin. Even there was sound coming in for things you were doing. You injected painkillers and medicines. That was truly amazing the way they put it all together. Of course, it's not perfected yet because that interaction, you're trying to really pick up the device and you can't get it yet. But those are the things they're working on. But that was one of the most amazing ones because it involved the visual, the sound, the haptics. It had both real world looking in certain directions and the VR. So it was really, really nifty.
Okay, well, Dan, thank you so much for joining me today, and also thank you, to you and NAWCTSD for your support of the association. We sincerely appreciate it.
Hey, John, thank you. And once again, I really appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate what you and the VRARA Association are doing. So thank you so much.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.